Hey, what's up, guys? I want to take a second and talk about uh, stuff that's going on in Virginia. It's been going on for a good bit now, and I haven't said anything about it, but our governor, Ralph Northam, is very anti Second Amendment, very anti um, firearms, and there's so much that he's trying to do that Virginia is trying to do in terms of the government in Virginia to get rid of firearms. Um, but as a result of this, so many people in Virginia, the people, gun owners, uh, have not taken a liking to this and are not willing to give them up. There are so many sanctuary cities now in Virginia, and there are so many people that are willing to fight this um, because the Second Amendment is that important to them, and it's really just that important in general. I mean, the Second Amendment is a hill to die on. We're talking about the right for people to defend themselves against tyranny, as opposed to just giving up your guns to the tyrants and letting them do whatever they want. And that's not going to happen. The Second Amendment was put there because people like this come into power and want to take away your rights. So I am glad that my fellow Virginians are fighting this. But uh, Ralph Northam has recently declared a state of emergency because of all the backlash from gun owners, and he even is saying, keep your weapons at home. Uh, he doesn't want guns at a gun rights rally in Virginia, which is really dumb. It's a gun rights rally, and you shouldn't be trying to take guns away from people anyway. So, but my fellow Virginians who are gun owners and probably conservative, they already know that this is going on, and it's wrong. Obviously, we should not give our guns up. We should, civil disobedience is okay here. Um, but that's just a little bit about that. I'm sure everybody knows that this is going on, but I wanted to talk about number one, the Second Amendment. Number two, what Scripture says um, about this. So obviously, the Second Amendment was put there, the right to bear arms, and it shall not be infringed. Um, the Second Amendment was put there so that the people themselves could form militias and fight back against a government that is going tyrannical. And let's just be honest, liberals in government are tyrants. They want to take rights away. Wanting to take away guns from the people and disarm them, that is tyranny. And that threat of tyranny, of taking away rights, taking away your right to self-defense and self-preservation, that's why the Second Amendment was put there. But I also want to talk about what Scripture says about this. So there are several places in Scripture that actually talk about weapons and self-defense. And I'm going to mention a few, and I'm going to read from one. So, Luke chapter 22. Scroll down to verse 35 through verse 38. Well, let's begin at 36. He said to them, "But now let the one who has a money bag take it." And Jesus is talking to his disciples. "And likewise a knapsack. And let the one who has no sword sell his cloak and buy one. For I tell you that this scripture must be fulfilled in me." And he was numbered with the transgressors. For what is written about me has its fulfillment. And they said, "Look, Lord, here are two swords." And he said to them, "It is enough." So, Jesus told his disciples to buy swords and keep them on them. And later, we see that Peter is carrying a sword. That's what he used to cut off Malchus's ear. So the disciples of Jesus, by the command of Jesus, are carrying swords on them wherever they go for the purpose of self-defense. Also, Roman soldiers would carry around swords. So the government that was over them was carrying around swords, and by command of Jesus, the disciples are carrying the same weapons that the government is carrying around. So the idea of the Second Amendment is not unbiblical. It's totally biblical. I believe it's Exodus 22. If someone breaks into your house in the middle of the night and you strike them and they die, you're not guilty of murder. That's just self-defense. People all throughout the Old Testament had spears and bows and swords. So the idea of having weapons for self-defense, even weapons that the government has, and weapons to fight tyrannical governments, is not unbiblical. Israel fought tyrannical governments all the time. And I mean, think about it. I mean, the carry weapon that's most effective for self-defense today is a gun. Bad guys have guns. If you don't have one, you can't really do self-defense. And the equivalent to a gun today from back then, yeah, you could say, a sword for carry weapons. But I mean, a bow. People had bows back then, and it wasn't just people in the government, it was anyone. A projectile that goes quick and kills your target quick. God says it's okay to have those. So having a gun for self-defense, and you need those for self-defense, because it's the most efficient form of self-defense, and that's what bad guys are using. And it's an equalizer. If 5 people break into your house, if you have a rifle, you got a good chance that they're not going to win. If you're a woman and someone's trying to attack you, especially if it's a man and they're bigger and stronger than you, which is usually the case, they should be able to shoot them and not have to try to fight them off with their hands, because that's not going to go so well. So I just wanted to briefly talk about that. Resisting this legislation is why the Second Amendment is there, and it's biblical. Self-defense, even against a tyrannical government, even with weapons that the government has, even with guns, it's a biblical concept. It is not biblical to say that we should get rid of guns. It's not. And just because you're in the government does not mean you get to do whatever you want, and now just because you're in the government, you're immune to self-defense. People, if you're going to rain down tyranny, people still get to defend themselves biblically. So, anyway, that's it for me. Please like and share and subscribe, and you can read about what's going on in Virginia as of right now, right here in this article that I have pulled up. I'll leave a link in the description. I'm out. Peace.